I'm open to anyone joining. I'm going to post the link if you want to join. I know it's early for some people, but last time I did the stream, some people were saying that they were in different time zones or they were doing other things, so they couldn't join. So I thought maybe I'd try a little earlier this time to see if anyone was available. Hey, Denise, do you want to talk with me and talk about your ideas and experiences? I got Ronan coming on. He said that he could join us when he's ready. He's a very knowledgeable guy. He's wise. I like what he says. I actually watched his videos a while back. He hasn't uploaded in a while, but he said he'd come on and talk with me. So, hey, Jared, we're back at it again. I thought I tried earlier this time. How's everyone doing in this hellish realm? I had the day off today, so I had nothing better to do than this. I mean, what else is there to do? Hello, Nico Chan. Like I was saying, I have someone joining us here in a little bit. So if anyone else wants to come on. I'm doing okay, I guess, trying to do the best I can in this realm of death, decay, and destruction. I've got thousands of people going on all around me, living their daily life of insanity, and I'm just here left with my own thoughts and whatnot. So just wanted to see if anyone wanted to talk and share some sanity in the realm of insanity. Hi, Vivacious Vivian. Feel free to join if you want. I really think all is illusion. Why we dream, can see things, because all is illusion. Can you understand my thoughts? Sorry for my bad English. Where your bad English makes more sense than most native English speakers, because all they speak is just gibberish about this place. So I got someone coming on. Denise, are you joining? No? Okay, never mind. So I'm just going to wait and see if anyone wants to join. While we wait, are there any questions or things that you want to talk about? Hey, Ronan.
Hey, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Awesome, awesome. How you doing?
Doing all right. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, appreciate the invite.
Yeah, I was saying earlier that I used to watch your channel, but it's been a while, so it's been about 2 years, I think, right?
Yeah, I haven't posted in a long time.
Well, you are a very knowledgeable, wise guy. Even though you don't post any videos anymore, your comments are very insightful. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm still working in the comments, looking for, engagement, discussion, and there's a lot of, yeah, I've gotten a lot of good, had some good conversations with some people. So,
The last comment you posted was about ever deeper honesty, correct?
oh, dude, can I please read from that? If you,
Yes, go ahead.
it won't be long. I'm just gonna read. The author basically has kind of one simple sentence as a conclusion, and then I'm gonna read just a couple more pages, if you don't mind, and see
Please, yeah,
kind of
go
get your
for it.
thoughts on it. Okay, awesome, awesome. So the work is called Ever Deeper Honesty, and it's a free PDF. I actually found it yesterday. And I don't know, the author is anonymous. They don't have a name. So, but this is their conclusion, their one sentence conclusion. There is no freedom, choice, option of an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way out of life and existence. Therefore, life and existence is prison, torture, slavery, rape, and therefore, life and existence is survival of the stupidest.
Spot on. You know,
Yeah.
most normies would hear that and say that that's insanity, but I totally understand that.
It makes things so clear. And continuing, he goes into defining people into two types, type A, type B. So there are only two types of people, society, type A, type B. These can be summed up as follows. Type A people, society. These people, societies, understand that everyone must be provided with the most fundamental of rights, which is the freedom, choice, option to move away from suffering in an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way whenever they want. This is obvious because if you do not have the right freedom to move away from suffering, then it would be legal for anyone to kidnap you and then imprison you in a basement where you are then raped and tortured on a daily basis for the rest of your entire life. In that basement, you would be going through intolerable pain, suffering, but you have no right to demand that you be allowed to leave that situation of suffering. The perpetrator is legally allowed to do anything that they want to you for the rest of your entire life. And therefore, it's obvious that this right, freedom, must exist in all aspects of life, and that at all levels of life existence, and obviously, it must also be preventative. Therefore, the two main priorities of these people societies must be two. One, make sure that all people entities have the freedom, choice, option to leave any situation of suffering, including life, existence itself, in an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way whenever they want. Two, not create new babies, entities, because they know that any baby that is brought into existence will suffer regularly throughout its entire lifetime. They know that they need to be preventative of creating situations of suffering. And since life is inherently prison, torture, slavery, rape, suffering, from the moment that a baby is born, they know that it would be extremely immoral to bring a baby into existence. Indeed, it's obvious that would it be extremely immoral to do this because this would cause suffering, and they know that suffering is unacceptable and not unnecessary. Note, the only people who are not able to truly recognize, admit this, that suffering is unacceptable and unnecessary, are all the selfish, immoral people because they need to keep, directly and indirectly, brainwashing, programming themselves and everyone to believe that suffering is acceptable and necessary because A, they have to do this because it's one of the main ways of keeping people trapped, enslaved as their personal slaves and or work slaves. B, they have to do this to hide their selfish, immoral actions of controlling, manipulating, using, enslaving people, babies, children, adults, as their personal slaves and or work slaves. And he goes in later to define work slaves and personal slaves. But it's basically partner, child, could be a husband, wife. That would be like a personal slave. And then a work slave is obviously anyone you would hire to do some sort of work for you. Note, I say that their actions are selfish, immoral, because this is obvious and indisputable, because they are directly causing suffering to people, their personal slaves and or work slaves. And in most cases, that suffering will occur regularly for an entire lifetime. Note, this book uses terms like bad, wrong, and selfish, immoral, cruel, evil, because these terms can be real, true, objective, fact, and fair, equal, neutral, and not opinion based nor based on some agenda if they're all naturally derived from the neutral, natural, true start point for everything. And he explains that later. B. A baby cannot consent to be born, and therefore, the act of having a baby is non consensual and therefore rape. Also, the type A people society know that if one non consensual act is allowed to happen, then many non consensual acts will start to happen. And this means that suffering will then spread to everyone. So, you and I, and most people listening to this, are type A. So this is the type B society. These people societies are selfish, immoral because they only care about trying to use, enslave all people and entities as their personal slaves and or work slaves. And therefore, they do all that they can to make sure that no one is provided with the most fundamental of rights, the freedom, choice, option to move away from suffering in an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way whenever they want. And therefore, they try to restrict this freedom in all aspects of life and at all levels of life existence. Therefore, the two main priorities of these people societies are two. One, make sure that no one has the freedom, choice, option to leave life existence in an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way whenever they want. And to ensure this, they will invent, create, implement, and enforce many rules, beliefs, systems, legal, moral, social, interpersonal, personal, religious, spiritual, in all aspects of life, which prevents this from happening. Two, encourage, pressure, coerce, condition, brainwash, program everyone to do things that will, directly or indirectly, create new babies, entities, because they know that as soon as a person has a baby, that person is then part of the crime. And therefore, that person will then have to constantly brainwash, program themselves and everyone to believe that having a baby is good, moral, selfless, important. Having a baby will bring you happiness, joy, love, etc. Suffering is acceptable, important, good, necessary, etc. Suffering is part of life, and therefore you, we, everyone must accept it. Using enslaving people as personal slaves and or work slaves is something that is acceptable, important, good, necessary, etc. Note, the aim of brainwashing programming is to be able to make people so blind that whilst they're looking at a black object, e.g., suffering, you'd be able to tell them that it's actually white and they'll believe you rather than their direct experience of suffering. This is vital because only when you can control them on this level can you make them believe that A, they're not suffering, even whilst they're having the direct experience of suffering. And this means that you can continue to use them as your personal slave and or work slave. Or B, they are suffering, but they choose it and or want it and or need it for reasons XYZ. And this means that you can continue to use them as your personal slave and or work slave. B, if new babies entities are not created, then there will not be enough people to use slaves, personal slaves and or work slaves. And this will make life for the type B people harder and or not enjoyable. and or it will totally collapse their family, community, society, country, or whatever else. These things are the desires and fears of the type B people society. And therefore, it is from these selfish desires and fears that all their actions will be based. And therefore, all actions from type B people societies will always be inherently selfish and immoral. And therefore, there will always be suffering. Note, there is no middle ground between the type A and type B people societies because all people either have this most fundamental of rights, freedoms, or they don't. And if they don't have this most fundamental of rights, freedoms, i.e., the freedom, choice, option to move away from suffering in an instant, painless, effortless, guaranteed, permanent way whenever they want, then they don't have any real, true freedom, which must inherently mean that they're in a life which is inherently prison, torture, slavery, rape, whether physical, mental, emotion, or spiritual. So that's like the first few pages from it. What do you think
It's
about that
sad
so
that
far?
most people would hear that and it'd go in one ear and out the other and be completely opposed to that because of their own mental programming. Because like you said, like it said, once you have a kid, you wanna put so much unnecessary importance in life because you made that decision to have that kid. Now you have to own up to it. So you don't want to face that. So it's just a perpetual baby machine after that point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No matter how much suffering that has been imposed upon you and now is imposed upon that child, you will justify every single thing because you brought that baby into this existence.
Yep.
You can't say that was wrong because that would mean you're wrong and this whole life is a
Yes,
sham.
exactly. Exactly. You have to maintain that illusion to continue. Because if that illusion is broken, I think that is the most fundamental thing that shatters everything. If you can reach the conclusion that you just stated, I feel like that is a huge separation.
Yeah, and for anyone who has kids, this is not making trying to make you feel bad. It's just stating the truth. I'm not trying to say you're a bad person for having that kid because you were deceived, but you have to face the truth though.
Yes, I think, yeah, I mean, yeah, the damage is done pretty much. You can't go back into the past and undo it. But I do think if a parent is able to come, I do think a parent can come to this conclusion. That it would, it would be really shattering, especially if they're older to come to this conclusion. But I do think it is possible. I mean, I personally don't know any, I don't know anyone that's, ever come to this conclusion. But like you said, I think it is possible. But I think not only most humans, but especially most parents will never, ever think about it that way because they're caught in that illusion.
Exactly. How do your parents feel about this, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I don't really talk to them, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, that's
I,
okay.
I, I can't even, I can't even convince them of surface level real life events, like things that are happening with the government, things that you can literally prove your own self, things that have visible proof. I can't even really convince them of those things. So it's like anything beyond that would be also impossible. So I've kind of given up, and I think what I'm realizing is that it's mainly finding other people that are already on the path or have already come to these conclusions. I'm starting to think that I'm not sure you can really convince anyone of anything. I think they really have to come to the conclusion their own selves. And I don't know necessarily what makes the type A and type B different. I don't know again, I don't necessarily know what this reality is. I don't necessarily know even what I am. I just know that there is a seriously fundamental difference between these two groups. And I realized that you have to come to the conclusions on your own, which is why I'm not even sure this isn't something you can really teach someone. Um, which again, and I'm probably actually going to do not really an experiment, but I'm actually going to send this to my brother and send this to some other people and see if they're actually honest. I'm actually going to see one, if they read it, that'll tell me a lot. But two, if this changes anything in their perspective, it'll kind of be I guess, a social experiment. But I just think that people have to come to this conclusion on their, and I don't know what makes that difference between humans, but yeah, I don't know if I'm making any sense, but
Yeah, yeah, you are. I
there's
think the
there's
difference
something
is
core.
I think the difference is people who yearn for the truth will seek the truth no matter what cost. And a lot of people don't want the truth because they're comfortable in their delusions and they don't want to look at
Mm,
themselves and see like their part in it. And if they saw, oh wow, like I literally brought an innocent child into a world of hell, I can't face that truth. I have to justify that.
mm, true. But I guess what I'm saying is I don't know why I and I don't know why you, like, I don't know why there's people like us that it's like our only desire is to seek truth. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't know why I am this way. I don't know why my only desire is truth and freedom. But I realize not everyone is like that. So I just speak to myself. I don't know why I'm this way. I just know that this is the only thing I care about. But I realize that that's so few people are like whatever I am. And it's mainly about finding other people that are already like me, because this isn't something you like preach. Like, this isn't someone that you can really teach someone or show someone. Like, you can, but it's like there's that mental program that for whatever reason can't really get past it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, on a
Yeah.
deep level, I don't know why I am the way I am. I don't know why my only desire is truth and freedom. I just am this way. I've always been that way. Um, like, for yourself, why do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand. For myself, I've always felt uncomfortable in this world, even through all my, deceptions that I believed in. It never really fulfilled anything within me until I
Mm,
actually sought more and more truth. And I followed that truth wherever it took me. And yeah, I've been in all kinds of deception circles. But the thing is, I got out of it because my own truth and searching for that truth led me out of there. I was never comfortable
mm,
just being in the animal farm, so to say, and believing what other people told me. And that's the thing that I realize is whenever I believed what other people told me without knowing it for myself, that's when I became trapped in the falsity of it because I'm letting other
mm,
people dictate to me what is true rather than seeking it out for myself.
that's a good point.
And a lot of people are they just get comfortable and oh, whatever they say is true, like with religions and politics, all those things. I'll let them think for me, but that never sat well with me.
Mm. What was your biggest delusion that you had to get away from? What was
That's
like your
There's
biggest
a lot of
breakthrough?
those.
I mean, there's a lot, and I'm sure it was over a period of time. But if you had to like I know for me. Mine was religion.
Yeah. So in what way?
I was uh I was a Christian. And like I'm talking about like legitimate, like what would I call it? I don't know. I was like a religious warrior type. Like I was literally trying to battle against, witches and all that. Like I was doing like
That's
some
funny because
just
I
weird
was in the same
militant.
position as you, seriously. So I totally understand that. But yeah, tell me more
Yeah,
about your battle through that.
I was like part of like and I just I realized overall with my life, it's basically my path just gets narrower and narrower and narrower with time. And I thought I was on the narrow path with Christianity. Um, which even in Christianity, I was on a narrow path because I was on this like, you know, actually following it, not being hypocritical, and actually doing like warfare, spiritual warfare. So I was even in Christianity, I was on the narrow path within Christianity because most people that claim to be Christians aren't even actually Christians. It's just like name only. But I
Exactly.
was like legit, like hardcore warrior. And towards the end, it was just me and it was just a small group. And then at the end, it was just me and another guy. We were doing our own thing. And then yeah, it for me it took pain. It took um getting into that car accident, uh going into isolation, um, being tormented by my body and mind 24/7, 365, even to this date. Having all my friends go away because I left. I left the church, I left everyone. Um, and in that moment of pain, when I realized there was nothing there, that for me was the like what broke the most. Um, is that whole world shattered when I realized like, oh, it's just me. Like there was nothing there. There was no help. There was no um comfort. There was no guidance. It was just pain. It was just myself. And that's all I had. And in that moment, you kind of realize, oh, you obviously have to take responsibility and take action for where your life is. But in that moment, I was like, I've spent these past few years dedicating my life to this God who doesn't care about me. Like who isn't saying anything to me, that isn't helping me, isn't healing me, isn't giving me anything back. It's just a blank. There was nothing there. And that's for me where everything shattered in that darkness, that depression. And in that moment, I also went through dark night of the soul. Also had like a little vision. And then over that course of that year, everything else of hope, it was like a domino effect at that moment. Everything else shattered back to back to back. And it was like, listening to other people, I realized that my story was kind of different because most other people I know, like for yourself, you said you noticed like as a child, things weren't right. You noticed that you were different. But for me, like I just had like 20 years worth of information and downloads in like that 1 year, where people, may go through 5, 10, 15 years of slowly uncovering things. Mine was like 1 year, which is why it was so hard because it was like all these things being shattered in that 1 year where most people have 5, 10, 15, 20 years to kind of uncover these things. For me, it happened all at once. So I kind of have a different, kind of a unique side to that. I don't know how too many people that have had it so jammed and compact in such a short period of time, which is why it was very difficult. Um, yeah, that's kind of my story. That was the biggest thing for me. What for you? What was it similar? What was it? Was it religion?
Yeah, it was sort of similar. Since a young child, I've always felt connected to some outside source that was beyond this material realm. So I
Mm,
guess they use that to deceive you more because you realize that this world isn't what it says it is, so there must be something higher than this, and that's when they entrap you in religion. If you are true, if you're just a fake Christian follower, then that doesn't count. But for me, I was actually real about it. I was in my heart.
yeah.
I knew there was something more than this, and they present you with all of these different religions to help misguide you. So I was raised Catholic, even though we weren't really practicing Catholics. I went to a Catholic school, and they try to, you know, indoctrinate me and all that bullshit. And in church, I would realize that this was all bullshit. Like, what are we doing all these rituals for? Like, if God is here, why are we like robots, basically?
Mm,
And I remember this one time we were in this room, and the Eucharist was in this box, basically, and they were saying, "This is God in this little box," and I'm like, how does that make sense? And if God is really here, why are we all acting like freaking animals around him? It doesn't really compute to me. So
mm.
I started drifting away from that, and I got more into like one of the big things for me was I connected to Native American spirituality for some reason.
Hey, that's my people, bro.
Oh, cool. Yeah. What tribe or what heritage do you?
Lumbee tribe. We're located in like North Carolina, East
Okay, cool.
Coast. Um, but like my uncle traced our heritage back to like I think 1700s, and like I'm actually Irish as well. So
Nice.
yeah,
Well,
since from the 1600s, it's native. But anyways,
okay. Yeah, so I connected more with that than like all the Catholic ritual bullshit. So I got really deep into that, and I through all of this, I believe in some greater power than me. I just didn't know what its name was or who it was or what it was, but I had this feeling that there was something greater that was kind of leading me to different things. And through that, I got into like shamanism, and I got into like kind of new age stuff, but I never really fit any of those boxes. I kind of just made my own stuff up. Like, I took what applied to
mm,
me and used it. And that also led me into the conspiracy realm.
yep.
And um, I saw this way back in the wild, wild west days of YouTube. They had all kinds of crazy stuff out, man. It was so easy to
Ah,
find
the
stuff.
glory days.
It was so
Same with
easy
the
to find
internet.
stuff. Yeah, I watched this one thing about how Christianity was just pasted and copied off of other traditions that were much older, and that's when I was like, oh wow, so I guess Christianity is like just false then. So I moved away from that, but for some reason, like, the Jesus person always remained with me. I couldn't shake it for the longest time, and but I wasn't Christian, so I developed my own spirituality, my own God, so to say. I had many different practices and different areas where I would pick and choose things. And I realized that there were a lot of truthers who were Christian. I was like, is there something to this? Like, why are there so many truthers who are Christian? And a big thing for me was, I, at the time, I was really into Owen Benjamin. I was listening to him, and he was like really Bible thumping a lot. And um, it just got into my subconscious mind that, oh, maybe there's something more to this that I missed. And this was all when like COVID happened, and I went to Peru. I was doing the shamanism thing down in Peru. I went to Hawaii, and in Hawaii, like, the whole country was falling apart basically. And Owen Benjamin was like preaching like how we should all get homesteads and like drift away from this society. And I agreed with a lot of things he was saying at the time, which led me open to deception because I was giving my power away to someone who I thought was smarter than me. And so
Mm,
when I got back home, I prayed and was like, okay, God, if you're real, and Jesus, if the Bible is true, give me a sign, and I will look more into it, because I never really read the Bible for myself. And I kid you not, like, this was like super spiritual deception. I was going through my mom's house, and in the far back corner of this shelf, I was cleaning things out, and I find this KJV Bible, and I'm like, "What is this doing back here?" And I asked my mom, "Is this your Bible?" And she's like, "No, I don't know how that got there." So I don't know how that Bible got there, but I was like,
Oh, the
"Okay."
Matrix manifested
Yeah,
that,
seriously, I was like,
bro.
"Okay, well," I said I'd read it, and it appeared to me. So I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna make this big thing. I'm gonna go out somewhere. I'm gonna open up a page and start reading." And I went to this location, this peaceful location at the time. I thought, I sat down, I opened the Bible to Psalms 1 somehow. And when I read Psalms 1, it made sense to me at the time. And I had this like supernatural experience when I read it. And it like kind of showed me my whole life in a way that was really strange. I've never had that experience before, since or before that. But I feel like that was like really spiritual deception to get me to believe in it. So I was like, wow, maybe there's something to this thing. So I read more and more and more. And uh, that night, I had some really bad spiritual warfare. I went to sleep, and in the middle of the night, I had this demonic attack, this demonic oppression come over me, like shadow figures and demonic entities, like fucking, like literally fucking with me during my sleep. It was sort of like a sleep paralysis state. And I said the name of Jesus, okay? And all the all the entities went away, and I was safe. So in that time I was like, wow, this must be real. Like it really worked. I said the name of Jesus, all the demonic oppression went away. So
It works, man. There's something to the name that works. 'Cause I did the same thing.
yeah, so
Even
that
post
really
even
hooked me. I
post
was like,
belief.
wow, this is powerful. So in that state, I got more and more into Christianity when I had totally abandoned it before. And I got really into it, like really into it. And I started, but here's the thing where I was led astray. I started letting other people tell me what the Bible meant, what it was saying. And I gave my authority
Mm,
away to like these preachers and these people who knew more than me. So I started believing them, and I got into all these different sects of Christianity. I would move in and out of them because I realized, okay, I'm getting this, but it's time to move on because they're not telling me the whole truth. And I would just keep cycling through all the different sects basically. And I realized that most of these people in these religions aren't actually following what Jesus taught. They're
ding
not
ding ding.
actually doing what he said. And I found them all very hypocritical, very hypocritical.
Yep.
So I was like, how can these people have a relationship with God if they don't even have any sort of, they're not even turning away from the world. They're actually celebrating it. And that led me more and more into my own existential crisis. And, you know, each sect says they're the one who has the truth. Like each one says they have the truth. Other people are filled with Satan or filled with demons, and they're perverting the scriptures and blah, 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 blah. But every single one says that. So it's just strange. And then I started realizing that there's so much conspiracy within Christianity alone. Like there are
Yep.
so many different conspiracy rabbit holes, like thousands of them,
It's infinite.
infinite. I'm
Infinite.
like, this, how does this make sense? How can this make sense that if this is God's holy book, why is there so much deception in just this one subject alone? You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And how could he be leading all these people astray? Why can he not protect his holy book from deception? You know what I mean?
Mm.
If he's so powerful, why there's so like millions of Christians who are not doing it the right way, so to say. And I always, even though I think it's a deception, I still find value in some of the things the Bible says, like what Jesus taught, some of them, because it was very spot on in a lot of ways. But the thing is, most of the Christians were not doing what he was saying.
Mm.
Like, take up your cross, crucify your flesh, turn away from the world. He never even said have babies. He never said that once. Yet we're all
Mm.
multiplying, bringing more people into hell. So a pivotal point for me was realizing that I had been deceived yet again. And I'm saying my whole heart was in it too. My whole heart was in it, just like you're saying yours was. And it was such a betrayal to me that I had put so much heart into it just to find out that I had been deceived the whole entire time. And that's what led me into my dark night. I had many dark nights, but that was like a very major one, like a betrayal from the highest order.
Mm.
And now I'm all fucking alone. There's
Yep.
nothing out there that's going to help me besides myself.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I was in a very dark depression about that. Like, I was
Yep.
at the point of like, what's the point? Like, I still feel that way now, but I'm better off now. But I was at the point of total black pill, like total black pill. Like, my everything was destroyed and shattered. I didn't give a fuck about anything because I knew like this whole life is a fucking sham. And I didn't really have any power to go on. And I would watch, all the black pill videos, all the anti-natalist videos, and it just further and further entrenched this idea within me that there was nothing good about this place. All the
Mm.
good that I had put into this place was coming from me.
Yep.
And it fucking destroyed me, but in a good way, because I went through that destruction and came out on the other side.
Yeah, that process. Yeah, dude, I totally understand exactly what you went through. Exactly to a T. I know
Yeah.
exactly
Hey,
how that feels.
Oh, by
hey,
the way, here's
Joshua,
some philosophy vids wants to join. Hey, what's up?
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So what's up?
All right, I'm getting feedback on my computer.
Okay, yeah, I don't hear the feedback, so it's probably just you.
Okay, I think I had two tabs open. You can still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Yeah, I don't want to hijack the conversation here, but
Oh, you're not. Trust me. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so Joshua just invited me. Anybody who doesn't know who I am, I have YouTube channel, Philosophy Vids.
I
Yeah,
like your
so,
channel, man.
huh?
I enjoy your channel.
Oh, so you've listened to a few of my videos?
Yes, yeah. Josh, I think Josh shared one of your videos,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, in his community forum or whatever. Yeah, so I don't know how much the viewers know about what I've discussed on my channel, but I figured since you guys were discussing Christianity and whatnot, it would be a good time to jump in. So essentially, am I allowed? I don't want to just like cut you guys off because everything you
Oh,
were
no,
saying
no,
is
yeah,
good.
No, you're good.
I'm
It's
open
it's
to
open.
anything, any idea, any contrary ideas, and your personal experiences and what you think are welcome here. Even if you disagree with us, it's totally fine.
Okay, I mean, with my personal experiences, I feel like there's like the really short version, and then there's also the really long version I can give. Um, and I've covered a lot of these experiences in detail on my channel. So I feel like if people who are listening want some more perspective on where I'm coming from, just head over to my channel and just listen to all those videos. But essentially, the long or the short version of the long story is um, about 4 years ago. So during 2020, actually, this is like when it came to a head. So it really started around 2017. I had a online correspondence with three individuals who are essentially being controlled by demonic spirits. And I've gone over this in detail on my channel. So starting off with that, I really don't care if, people think it sounds crazy, but um, it is fucking crazy. So I'm not going to deny that. And essentially, what happened? If do you just want the quick explanation of how I got to that point?
You can say whatever you want. Take as
Okay.
much time as you need.
Okay, so I'll just start from the beginning and just give a quick explanation of kind of what went down, like a sequence of events. So about 12 years ago, and before I go in, do either of you have anything you want to say about your own experiences? Because I know you were just talking, Josh. I feel like I'm hijacking the stream right now.
No, man, this is for
No,
other
you're
people
good.
to share their
Okay, okay,
experiences.
yeah.
You know
So
what I
about
think? I make videos on my channel, so
yeah.
go ahead.
So anyway, about 12 years ago, so around 2012, I had like a period of 3 months, 3 to 4 months. It started like in the spring of that year where I started to feel like very energetically off. Like depressed would be one way to put it, but it was like worse. It was like worse than depression. It was like I was like spiritually sick of this place almost. Like I don't know how else to put it, but like this energy kind of like came over me that was very strange. It wasn't like anything I'd ever experienced, and it kind of subsided. So this was around June of 2012. It seemed to subside for about 3 months, and then in September of that year, it sort of came back in full force, and I essentially became like super fucking depressed. Like I didn't really know what was going on, and I wasn't even that old to keep that in mind. Um, so I was in high school at this time, and all of my friends pretty much vanished overnight, and I was just like sort of on my own. And there was like 3 months where it was like I couldn't even go to school. Like it was bad. Like I just pretty much stopped functioning, and I didn't know what was going on, as you might expect, because it was a little. I wasn't suicidal though. That's the strange thing. I wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna end it or any of that, or I never like hurt myself. But I felt horrible. It was like this energy kind of came upon me that was like I'd been lowered into a frequency state that was borderline hellish. I'll just say that for 3 months. It was like 3 months of mental agony, and I eventually sort of came out of it at, I don't know, December of 2012 or January 2013, sometime around then. I don't remember the exact dates, but after that experience, immediately I knew something was wrong with this reality, because you don't just go through that for no clear reason. So I began doing research into the nature of this reality. I began like synchronistically, I was at a bookstore. I don't remember, it might have been like Barnes and Noble or something. And oddly enough, I was just looking through the books, and I found a book, one of David Icke's books, which is strange because if you go there today, I don't think they carry any of David Icke's books. Oh, we got a lot of people in. Hey, everybody.
Hi,
So,
everybody.
so
What's up?
continuing, I found one of his books, and this was
Just
again,
so you
I
know,
think,
I muted the other two just so you can talk.
okay,
So no
yeah,
offense to y'all. Sorry.
yeah. So I found one of his books at a bookstore, and I started to kind of go through it, and these ideas began to kind of get implanted in my mind that yeah, this place is fucked. It's nothing like we were told, and this was all new information to me, and I was like just resonating with it because I just had went through this experience that didn't really seem to have a clear trigger. So also around this time, I began looking into the near-death experience. I would read tons of accounts on the Near-Death Experience Research Foundation. I was like, look, I don't know exactly what I was looking for. Like the entire time, cognitively, you have your reasons, but it was like I was being drawn to that particular website at that time for a specific reason. And after a couple of months of looking, somebody posted an account that was unlike anything I had ever heard. Very detailed account, like descriptions of creation. This person claimed to
Hi,
have,
everyone.
hey,
Hope you are okay.
yep, we're doing good.
Yes, thanks. I just want to talk about God, you know what I'm saying? This entity that created us in this fake world, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm actually going to get into that.
Yes, thanks. I'm listening, you know.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Well, let me speed up what I'm saying, because
Yes.
but I need the backstory, otherwise people aren't going to understand literally anything I'm saying. So I found that somebody had posted an account onto that website that was very, very different. Like it stuck out like a sore thumb. Like I could tell this was not a normal person. And they'd claim to have multiple near-death experiences. I might mention the name of this person. I'm not sure, but for now, we'll just kind of keep it anonymous. So I looked up this person on Google shortly after, and they'd been publishing books. They on Amazon. They had published several books. One of them was on like quantum physics, near-death experiences, etc. They had another book that was like my several thousand years of changing the human timeline, a sci-fi story. I was like, okay, what the fuck? And I did some more research, and I found an article that said this person had just recently passed away. They just died. This was around 2014. So I was like, well, what the hell? Like that's strange, but no, I guess I'll just kind of put that on the back burner and forget about it. So this was around 2014. The next 3 years, I just kind of spent continuing to gather information. I looked over this person's books. I read through them. I continued to kind of like research what is actually going on here. And then in 2017, on a whim, after I hadn't really thought about it for a while, I decided to search this person again, and they were publishing books again. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I had read online they died. So I was like, okay, something is going on here. Like they were publishing books on climate change. They were publishing books on how the human race is about to go extinct. And so I just did some digging in the Amazon comment section, and I found this person's email. I found like a contact, and I figured, yeah, I'll just reach out, see if I can get an explanation. So I heard back from this individual within a day, and essentially the explanation he gave me was that he had worked for the U.S. Department of Defense's research and development arm. He claimed, he told me he was the head of the DoD research and development, and he had published information in the public domain that was violation of some clause. And the solution was essentially, he told me he was writing under a pen name too. So he said the solution was they killed him. They removed him from, they essentially said he died, even though he didn't. I know how strange that sounds. Didn't really make sense to me, but then he won that lawsuit is what he said. And then he was allowed to publish again. So I was like, okay, well, at least there's an explanation. So I'm not going to go into everything that was discussed, but I'll just put it this way. Over the next 3 years, from 2017 to 2020, I was in correspondence with not just this particular individual, but 2 other individuals who claimed to have been readers. And the content of those messages, I'm just now going back through after years of not looking through it, but all sorts of shit was discussed. So a quick summary of like some of the stuff. Yeah, there's a maximum of 6. A quick summary. He had all sorts of technology that humans don't have. And I'm talking thousands upon thousands of pages of stuff, faster than light technology, rewrites of quantum mechanics. So this individual I was in communication with had an IQ clearly well over 200, like Isaac Newton level IQ. The math, if you look at some of these papers, and I have thousands of fucking papers still saved in my computer, pardon, I'll try not to swear. It's just insane. So I'll just kind of summarize this. So when COVID came around 2020, we'd been kind of going back and forth for years now, years. And I knew something was very up or wrong with this individual. Like this person was hiding something from me. And then the COVID thing happened. And I could tell that they were trying to control my perception of what this reality was, what was going on throughout 2020. And I'm not sorry. Again, I probably shouldn't say that word. I don't want this video to get removed, but they were trying to control my perception. And in retrospect, I know what was going on, but at the time I wasn't clear exactly what was going on, but we were engaged in spiritual warfare. This occurred during 2020, and we were going back and forth. And again, I'm probably going to make a video where I'll go through some of those emails so people can actually see some of the stuff. And there's a lot from those emails I can discuss, but I just don't have the time right now. But I'll just summarize it this way. I began to press this individual on the philosophical concept of evil throughout 2020. I know it sounds strange, but I was letting him know I knew who he was without stating it in clear terms. And if you're like an interrogator, that's a very effective manipulation tactic, because they can only, I mean, even a demon can only lie for so long before they crack. And that's essentially what happened. And I know how this sounds. I don't expect anybody to believe me, but these 3 people I was in correspondence with were what David Icke has termed the global cult, meaning they were incarnate fallen angels. And this, once I figured out what was going on and who these people were, obviously the communication went south. They threatened me. They called the FBI to come in and question me, but they didn't have anything on me, so nothing happened. But this person was being controlled by Lucifer. I know how that sounds, and I this is a public forum. People can say whatever they want. People can have any opinions on Christianity. I don't consider myself a mainstream Christian. I don't go around telling people to believe this or that. But from my experience, what I've concluded is this reality is likely akin to a simulation. Like, it is essentially a counterfeit, a fake reality that you could say mimics a reality that exists at another frequency band, another higher level of being. And the force that created this reality is essentially the biblical fallen angels. That is kind of where my information and theories have led. Same goes for people like David Icke. But all I can say is I encountered this force. So I have that piece of information. I don't know exactly what's going on. I feel like I've gotten relatively close. And again, if people are interested in this, you can head over to my channel and I have more videos explaining this. But that's the very short version of what happened. And it's fucking nuts. But yeah, I mean, what happened in 2020 is nothing like what you perceived it to be. There was no, you know what, it didn't even exist. But you might say, oh, I know people who had it. Well, I mean, they were labeling anybody who died during that time as, dying from this. So that's my amazing, incredible story. I don't know if you have any input, Joshua, but I'll step off the soapbox for a second. Anybody can chime in. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, brother. Yes, I'm here, brother.
Nice. Okay, it looks like
yes.
Joshua.
I just want. Yes. Where is Joshua?
He just said he's trying to figure out how to get his audio back.
Yes.
That was an interesting story, man. I was attacked by what I would call black magic for the past 4 or 5 years, and eventually I got to the point where I realized it might sound weird or unbelievable, but the electrical grid in this realm, like through the smart meters and the electricity, everything is pumped through. It's all negative, like dark energy. And if you transmute the grid where you're at your location, you can transmit it into positive and harmonious energy for the surrounding area. But there's objects can be cursed, and I mean, magic's real. I never knew it, but this place is crazy. Interesting story, though. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and no, I agree totally. I mean, there's like a technological. Is he asking for a new stream? I just saw Josh posted something.
Where are we, brothers? Where are we? You know what I'm saying? Where are we in this world? You know what I'm saying? Who we are, Who we are, what are we doing here? And what is the purpose of all of that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, hold on.
I think we are in a fear farm, you know what I'm saying? Fear farm.
Exactly.
They eat our fear, you know what I'm saying?
You're exactly right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
So I've said this, like my conclusions, and based on what I've experienced, I mean these three people were incarnate demons that I encountered, and
Yeah.
unless you personally experience what I did, you can remain skeptical, and I would be too if somebody else said this.
Yes.
But what I've concluded is this is like a simulation, and it was
Yes,
set up.
we are in simulation. You know, I know this. This information is true. You know what I'm saying? Yes, it is.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna hop off. It looks like Joshua was trying to start a different stream or something.
Yes. Okay.
I got booted.
Hi everybody, how are you doing?
The tech is
Good,
messing
what
with us,
about
man.
you?
Hi everybody, how are you doing?
Very good, brother. What about you?
Very, very good, brother. Very, very good. Where do you
Yes.
live?
Thanks, brother.
Where are you from?
I'm from Algeria, brother.
Algeria. Cool.
Yes. Do you know Algeria?
I've never been there,
Yes.
but I've
It's
I've
in
heard of it.
Africa,
Yes.
in African country. Yes.
East Coast, right?
What?
It's on the East Africa, right?
Yes. Not in the middle of it.
Oh,
Morocco. Do you
middle.
know Morocco? Morocco.
Yes. Hmm.
Yes. Close to Morocco. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, okay.
Yes, it is. I just want to talk with Joshua about this evil world that we are living in, and the simulation that we are living in, this fear farm that we are living in. You know what I'm saying?
So what do you think?
I think we are in fear farm, brother.
Hmm.
We are dead. We are just like puppets. Puppets. Do you know puppets? Puppets. Yes.
I can see that. Because to me, I don't think this is technically life. Like I would not consider myself to be alive. I don't think this is real life. This is
Yes.
not
Yes.
living.
Yes. Yes. We are in simulation, bro.
A really bad one.
But
Open my eyes, let me tell this is the road, the Matamasod.
Joshua, can you hear me, brother?
I think he's about to reboot it because he can't get back in.
Yes, it is. Okay. So how are you doing with life, brother?
Life sucks.
Sucks, yes. Yes,
Life sucks when
it
you
is.
die.